The scissors were still warm when I found them on my nightstand. Their metal edges caught the morning light like tiny knives. My hand flew to my neck, fingers meeting nothing but air where my waist-length hair used to cascade. The mirror showed a stranger. Chunks of chestnut brown scattered across my pillow like fallen leaves, my scalp visible in jagged patches. The sticky note was still attached to the scissors. "You'll still look fine. Focus on your speech for Emma's big day. Mom." My stomach dropped to the floor as the metallic taste of shock filled my mouth. They had drugged me. My own parents had put something in that soothing chamomile tea and mutilated me while I slept, 3 days before my sister's wedding. My name is Rebecca. I'm 28 and a marketing coordinator. This is the story of how I turned their scissors into my sword. For 28 years, I'd been the daughter they managed, not celebrated. While Emma got designer dresses and violin lessons, I got hand-me-downs and be grateful lectures. While she got a graduation trip to Paris, I worked double shifts to pay for community college. But I kept showing up, kept trying, because somewhere deep down, I believe family meant something. The wedding was supposed to be different. I'd bought a navy silk dress with my own money, the first truly beautiful thing I'd owned in years. I'd practiced my maid of honor speech until I could deliver it with confidence. For once, I wasn't asking for anything. I was ready to celebrate Emma without competing. But apparently, even existing was too much competition. When I walked into the kitchen that morning, my father barely glanced up from his newspaper. "Good. You're up. Less hair makes your face look less distracting anyway. The attention's not supposed to be on you." My mother sipped her coffee like nothing had happened. "It's Emma's wedding. Let her shine." She said it like I was planning to upstage the bride just by having hair. The betrayal wasn't just the cutting. It was how easily they'd made me complicit in my own destruction, how they'd smiled while poisoning my tea, how they'd positioned themselves as loving parents who were just looking out for their real daughter. I went upstairs to my room and called my roommate Becca, voice shaking as I explained what happened. She arrived within 20 minutes, took one look at me, and her face went white. "They drugged you and cut your hair off while you slept?" The horror in her voice validated everything I was feeling. In my bathroom, Becca helped me salvage what was left of my hair into an edgy bob. As she worked, she asked the question that changed everything. "Do you have any proof this was planned?" I did. For months, I'd been recording voice memos for my therapist, little moments I needed to process later, comments about how pretty girls ruin weddings with jealousy, conversations about how I was becoming too confident and needed to remember my place. When we played them back, the pattern became undeniable. This wasn't impulsive. They'd been planning to sabotage me for weeks. "There's a way to make them listen," Becca said, holding up her phone. "But once we do this, there's no going back." I stared at my reflection, my new short hair actually framing my face beautifully, my eyes brighter with fury than they'd ever been with acceptance. Good. I don't want to go back. The next morning at the wedding venue, everything was exactly as Emma had dreamed. A sprawling vineyard estate where every detail screamed expensive taste funded by our parents' savings. The same savings they'd refused to help me with for college. I arrived early to the rehearsal brunch, wearing a simple black dress that made my new haircut look intentional, powerful. The original speech in my pocket felt like a relic from another life. When I stepped up to the microphone, the room fell into that comfortable family gathering silence. They expected the usual platitudes about sisterhood and eternal bonds. Instead, I said, "Hi, everyone. I know I'm not the favorite daughter. That's never been a secret, but I'm here to say something different today." The air shifted. My mother's smile flickered like a broken light bulb. "I want to talk about what happens behind family portraits. When people say they love you but drug you with chamomile tea so they can hack off your hair while you sleep. When parents treat your existence as a threat to the child they actually love." Gasps rippled through the room. My Uncle Frank dropped his mimosa. My father started to stand, but I was already pulling out my phone. "You don't get to rewrite who I am anymore. You don't get to trim me down, hide me, or pretend this didn't happen." I played the recording, my mother's voice clear and cold. "She thinks she'll look better than Emma in that dress. We need to fix that before Saturday." then my father's laugh. Girls like her need reminders about their place. The silence was deafening. Forks stopped mid-bite. Conversations died. Even the servers stopped moving. I ended with a period. You taught me shame. Now I'm teaching you consequences. When my parents started screaming and demanding I leave, the venue coordinator called security who escorted me out. But Emma's tears weren't for me. They were because this will ruin my photos. Even in her breakdown, she couldn't see past herself. But I'd planned for that reaction. Becca had been live streaming from the back of the room. The video exploded across social media within hours. Sister Sabotage started trending. Millions of views, celebrities sharing it, comments from thousands of women saying, "Thank you for speaking what I never could." The best part came a week later. An email from a wedding magazine editor wanting to feature my story in an article called "The Uninvited Sister Who Stole the Show." They wanted a photo shoot. Elegant, powerful, unapologetically me. The magazine shoot was everything my parents had tried to steal. Professional makeup artists gasping over my bone structure. Photographers calling my new haircut striking and editorial. Stylists wrapping me in gowns that shimmered with confidence. When the article published 3 months later, it launched a cultural conversation about sister rivalry, emotional abuse, and pretty privilege. I became the face of daughters who'd been systematically diminished. But the real transformation wasn't the magazine covers or the speaking engagements that followed. It was the email from Cynthia Ray, CEO of a fashion brand specializing in empowerment campaigns. "Your story isn't just brave," she wrote. "It's exactly what our new campaign needs. How would you feel about being our creative director?" 6 months later, I was opening our first creative office in my hometown. The same street where my parents used to drag me past shop windows on our way to Emma's piano recitals, reminding me not to want things I couldn't have. The office had floor-to-ceiling windows with a decal that read, "Power cannot be cut." My parents showed up uninvited to our launch event, looking older, smaller somehow. My mother wore oversized sunglasses like a celebrity avoiding paparazzi. They didn't recognize the woman at the front of the room. Confident, successful, surrounded by people who valued her voice. "We're proud of you," my mother said quietly, as if the intervening months of silence hadn't happened. I smiled. "That's interesting. You haven't been proud of me since I had training wheels." My father tried his old charm. "We all make mistakes. Families heal, right?" I gestured toward the guest book. "Would you like to leave feedback? We take all comments seriously here." When they hesitated, I added, "Otherwise, I have a room full of people I actually respect waiting to hear me speak." As they walked toward the exit, I called after them. "Next time you try to cut down a daughter to elevate another, remember, scissors dull, but some girls sharpen." They never came back, and I made it clear to Emma through a mutual friend that our relationship was permanently over after she chose her photos over supporting me that day. I never needed them to come back, because I'd finally learned they didn't define my beauty, my power, or my worth. Not with scissors, not with silence, not ever again. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. Zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.